Hello everyone, this is Cookies. I have turned 58 of Asphodel, and we're generally going to be at peace still for this episode. So if you don't want to watch me just doing little bits of scaling, just save you the time. You can probably get through this one. I'm going to try to cover a lot of turns this episode though, so we'll see how far I get. So doing some site searching, a new global goes up. We'll take a look at that in just a second. We do find a meteorite cliffs. So one Earth, one Astral, which is great. And then, yeah, and then we don't find anything else. We do have a battle in Temiglia. So trying to finish off these knights that were annoying us. This is a little bit of a mistake in a deployment. I shouldn't have the satyr mannequins out in front. I should have the regular mannequins I don't care as much out in front. So this is unfortunate because we're going to eat a lance charge on some of our more valuable troops. The other thing that I think I'm noticing is I'm not sure if you get to keep the mannequins you get from horses, which are typically turned into carrion horses. I don't know if you get to keep those. So we see a couple that spawned right there at the end, but we don't get any carrion horses, which is kind of sad. I feel like you should get some. Like, I understand with PD, but these are independents, so I somewhat consider that a bug. I think I should probably go make a bug post about it, about mounts not retaining their carrion status, I guess. With Moose Bowl, I mean, it's a really small thing, but it does kind of matter. Are they getting the frost effect? Am I silly? What do we got here? Death weapons, withering weapons. Okay. I don't know. That must have been magic then. Sorry, that was confusing me. Then we've got a few other battles. This is mostly Nidavellir and Calum continuing their invasion of Scaleria. So we've got a little Wraith Lord raid. Then we've got Shinuyama finishing off Abyssia here. So we've got some mages in here. Got Rain, Hal. Sorry, just got distracted. We got a Bakemono Sorcerer. I want to almost call him an SC, because he's got Phoenix Pyre up, he's got Heroic Quickness, he may be stunned for the moment. He's also got a Fire Shield, he's got fairly good resist, a little bit of a Shock Malice, he's also got a huge Race Sword for Fatigue, which is good because his melee encumbrance is 7, and he's got 9 Reinvigoration. Part of that is Unaging in Combat Farcaster. Unaging because by not being old, he saves a little bit on encumbrance. So, pretty cool guy. This is that Abyssian hero. It's a shame Abyssia didn't get any gear to put on this guy, because He's pretty cool. He has a death poison stinger. And, you know, I mean, he comes with a built-in evening star, but still, it would be kind of cool to see some additional stuff put on him. He did get point buffed a little. And here we have the Prophet with a Carmine Cleaver. Yeah, this war for Abyssia definitely turned when N dropped out of the 2v1 and it became a 1v1. So Shinuyama's got a lot of ways to put fire resistance on their stuff, especially thugs. So that can make it somewhat difficult for Abyssia to deal with. Alright. So that's the end of Abyssia. All in all, loses 37 dieback mono, 8 Aka Onis. I guess all 8 that he summoned here. Does wipe out this army, so takes out an army that was, honestly, I think like 5 times. In terms of casualties, he had like a 5-to-1. But the armies fighting were about the same size, so this shows not only the troop quality of the Daibakemono, but the extra research that Shinuyama's got, because he put a PAL in Rain. And then, although Rain's pretty easy research to get, but it does affect Abyssia pretty severely. And then Abyssia was relying mostly on summons, so we had some Smolder Ghosts, some Fire Drakes. All of those are affected by Rain. The Ogres didn't kill anything, so I might have just been just not having enough research to try and go head-to-head with Shinuyama. Also, the Bakemono Sorcerer Thug was pretty good. We can take another look at this, because it'll probably be the only entertainment we get this turn. Or not this turn, this episode, unless Nidavellir has a big fight. So we've got Rain and Hal. And then what we've got here is we've got Marble Warriors being put up by this Bakemono Sorcerer. So he's going to buff a signet. Yeah, we've got 2 Marble Warriors casters. And then we've got a little bit of Poison Ward, some Gift of Giant Strength, and Soldiers of Steel, and some Flame Ward. So all of this combined with Rain and Hal makes for a pretty tough barrier for Abyssia to deal with. Additionally, Abyssia is relying on low protection summons. Yeah, like these wolves. I guess they're starving too, so they've got poor, like, much reduced morale. It helps if I let my brain actually think before I talk. Alright, and then, meanwhile, on Abyssia's side, we have, looks like a lot of chaff generation, so some body ethereal, nest of salamanders, lesser fire elementals, a little bit of furious warriors. This guy's got a few pearls. He's doing Power of the Spheres. But the end result is Daibakemono, I believe, are just vastly superior to stuff like Fire Snakes. Oh gosh, there's a lot of disease in this army too. And so, oh, you're diseased too. So yeah, when you're talking a 26 damage Nodachi or a 16 damage longbow, it's just too much for stuff like Fire Snakes to deal with. So you can see the number of casualties here, even as the gate guard kind of blocks things. Now, these guys, they don't cost upkeep. So I know they were put up there as Evo bait. I would have found something that cost upkeep to put up there as Evo bait, but still pretty understandable. He, he may very well care about his dieback mono more than even no upkeep summons. Yeah, so this guy runs in. He's got Moss Body. He's got the extra reinvigoration. Here's his script. Very solid script. I'm not sure about the fire shield, but he might not have looked at that a lot. It's still helpful versus ogres, wolves, spirits, whatever, earth elementals, but it's not super helpful versus Abyssia. But let's see. So yeah, 25 protection with Marble Warriors. So these guys are going to be very tough for any of this to deal with. Even the ogres hit for 29, so they'll do about 4 damage a hit, you know, although DRNs play into it. So it could take them 4 or 5 hits to kill a dieback mono. So that's just going to be really rough for them. Meanwhile, the dieback mono are hitting for 26 into 11 protection and 23 hit points, so they're probably going to 2-hit ogres. So yeah, just a big firing line. You're on stay behind troops, you're probably the general. This guy's putting up with a whole bunch of bullshit. Yeah, I really think instead of Fire Shield, no, he might have just forgotten to update the script, but instead of Fire Shield, I probably would have done Soul Vortex on this guy. But yeah, and now that they've run out of arrows, they're going to run in and do combat. The wolves from Howl have been pretty useful. They've been distracting mages. One of them came up and distracted a fire breath from this fire drake. Alright. So, yeah, there we go. So, good game of Abyssia. Fought until the end, which I really like. Was pretty cool to see a player in Shinuyama work his way out of a 1v2 and end up killing one of the aggressors. And then in Summerlands, we've got this Storm Knight here, who's now got a Charcoal Shield and a Mace of Eruption, which is not only good against Scalaria, but also good against me. So, let's see about this stuff. Probably might have been good to have a like somebody point buffing. But it looks like he nabbed the leadership. So, and therefore got a route. But yeah, it probably would have been good to have a point buffer there. Alright, we have something go wrong in the lab. We get some gems. We get attacked, or no, Machaka gets attacked by direwolves, but they have a ton of PD here. And we patrol out a couple of Nidavellir scouts. So we've got a fair amount of stuff patrolling, and there we see Abyssia has been defeated. So, what are we doing this turn? Same stuff we've been doing the last couple of turns, continuing to roll out a little bit more. I mean, there's variation in them, but a little bit more standardized raiding parties and maybe groups of more elite stuff. So, like a squad is a little bit more elite. And then there's something like a raiding group, which tends to look something like this. So, we've been sending stuff out like that. We're also doing a fair amount of site searching. Trying to recover our air and fire income after the debacle, trying to get elemental royalty, and continuing to save death and nature gems. In terms of research, we're working on enchanted forests, and then, this might change a little bit, but yeah, generally kind of working through there. And then part of me is curious, so I'm trying to find where the elemental royalty are. Oh, no, I did find them. It was either this turn or last turn, maybe. But yeah, we went ahead and found them there. So if we had done a little bit better scouting, we could have known if it was a good idea to cast that or not. All right. And I think that's honestly most of this. In terms of thrones, the big debate here is someone throne rushing, I think. So you need 7 to win. I've got 3. Machaka has 3. One of mine is unforted. Which reminds me I should save Earth Gems to go ahead and Wizard Tower it. Because this is not enough stuff to defend. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely making a scrubby mistake right now. So Machaka has 3. He could rush this. Maybe he could try to get... No, he's got this one. He could try to crack this. Maybe take this. And then find one more to Throne Rush. So we do have to be on the lookout for Machaka Throne Rush. I think I've gotten a little bit complacent in peacetime, just kind of scaling. So I will make a note of that for my current turn. And let's go ahead and jump into turn 59. So we've got turn 59. I think most of these miss, but we do get a quicksand and a sunridge, which I think a sunridge is 1 or 2 fire. We go ahead and Lichcraft Monsanto. So Monsanto is now death 5. No longer the grieving dryad. Now a very capable lich. And she's holding up our Well of Misery. We get a new prophet out of Shinuyama. And then we have a few battles. So in Mag, we've got a large Nidavellir army going up against centaurs on its way to Scalaria. No real gear, so he's not really revealing anything yet. He's kind of hiding it. We got a bunch of Nidbetheds backed by a bunch of Nidalvas, along with some trolls and another line of Nidalvas. A little bit of quickness to get people in there. Alright, goes ahead and kills that. In Moosebowl, we've got a elemental armor, a piercer. Interesting. Wraithlord from Scalaria running into an army from Calum. I don't think he's going to do much here. Calum has a lot of magic weapons to hit a body ethereal Wraithlord with. Well, I say that. Okay. So that, let's see. So there goes the Wraithlord. We should probably check to see how he dies. Make sure it's not like a permanent kill. Divine Channeling is up. Alright. So it's dead now. Okay, so it just died normally, so the Wraith Lord will be back. And then we've got Thorn Woods. We've got a bunch of bats. And I presume some skelly spam. Alright, so he's added a little bit of protection for his raiding party here, which I like. I would like to see a little bit of arrow bait out on front, but other than that, it looks pretty good. With Yellow Mountains, we've got a bunch of Jangard, which is cool. Definitely not really getting blessed. It's kind of an afterthought with this group. There we go, but the bless is a bunch of resists. So protecting against foul vapors, enabling in the late game some Wrathful Sky stuff. Where, yeah. When he starts rolling out 8s, and then enabling Firestorm plays as soon as he gets 7s, because then these guys have 10 fire res. So, not bad. They run into a bunch of trolls. Now, trolls have a massive fire vulnerability, so these Culling Fires are doing a ton of work. And that was pretty close. It was a lot of trolls. Alright. So Namal loses 33 Jangard here, because he didn't feel like mobilizing some mages to buff his troops. And I think if he'd mobilized a fair number of Mukurib, which, you know, he might prefer research right now, but he might have been able to steal a lot of these trolls. Oh, and that's it for battles. Let's see. We actually had some decent events this turn, and we catch a Nabas Scout. And we have some people immigrate in. So this indicates, because that was here, that indicates that this just became a forest, which is great. So the more forests on the map, the better for us. Assuming we win the fight with Machaka over Enchanted Forests. If we lose that fight, it's gonna be pretty dire. But our ace in the hole will be Utterdark, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, we started making some Rings of the False Prophet. That's, I don't know. I have a weird. I don't like completely suiciding units. Like, I could take this guy and drown him to get a new prophet. But I can also just make a Ring of the False Prophet, and he can still fill the role of a Holy 3 without me making, you know, like, getting this guy up to Holy 4. So I'm going to make a few Rings of the False Prophet so I can have Holy 4s. That lets me do my national, I think it's a battlefield-wide regen off of Holy Magic, which is nice, saves nature gems. So we'll do a few of those, and otherwise we're mostly still doing site searching and sending out different little groups. So this is a little more elite squad because it's got the satyr mannequins. And then we've got a couple of other more standard raiding groups. I try to give each one a cavalry contingent, and then some sort of infantry base. And then there's more specialized groups that will be running around. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so we've got that. I am a little bit worried about getting Dom killed, so I'm going to try to get out preaching even if it affects our income. Also a little bit worried about getting like purgatoried. So we'll see what we can do about that. We're not going to be able to recruit for much longer, and that's because we haven't fought another war, because that would almost certainly bring a coalition. And I kind of want to see how this weird global play works, because we've seen when I hydrated with Demosthenes, we've seen what happens when the Asphodel player goes for that. I think it was the third war, because they had fought Man, and then they had invaded Machaca, and then they had started invading Pyrene, and that's when Demosthenes and Kirby declared on him. So I'm going to try a slightly different variation and go for the two globals, which are Utterdark and Enchanted Forests. We'll see if I can win with Enchanted Forests. And then I do need to be paying more attention to a Throne Rush, and I probably need to be warning people diplomatically about that game state, just to make sure that we're on the same page. So I think that's it for turn 59. We're at about 26 minutes, so I'll go ahead and stop here. Good luck, and have a good one, guys. Later.